because you see someone with a really large social media following doesn't mean they're generating a lot of sales online. Let me explain. I've had a few clients now that I've worked with who have the most beautiful marketing strategies. They've got beautiful social media accounts. Everything is perfect, spot on. They are growing tremendously on both, maybe YouTube, even Instagram, some on Facebook, some on TikTok, but they're not actually generating money. Why do you think that is? Now, if you don't know this already, the way business works, marketing is always the front line of your business. This is simply the awareness that you're generating around your products, your services, who you are, and what it is that you do. But if for whatever reason you're not generating an income, it's not because you're not getting leads. It's not because your content isn't doing well. It's not because you don't have super high quality tech equipment. Maybe it's because you're having a sales issue. Maybe it's because you're not charging enough for your products or services. Maybe it's because you don't know how to handle sales objections, or maybe it's because you don't have one of the 3 high converting sales vehicles in your business. So now I'm going to get into public speaking for just a second. As a speaker and a speaker coach, one of the areas of study that I've gone into is the ability to sell from stage. This means both in person as well as online. And there are 3 different vehicles that can help you do this. So first, selling from stage, let me just go here because a lot of times when people hear the words, sales or selling, in general, there's all kinds of alarms that start going off. They don't want to sound salesy. They don't want to sound desperate. They don't want to sound like they're in that needy kind of energy. But the truth is, if you're a business owner, you need sales. Otherwise, you just have a really expensive hobby. So when it comes to these 3 vehicles, they're designed to pre-sell your offer. So as a public speaking coach, if you present in a certain way with a very specific business strategy, meaning you're overcoming objections in your presentation, you're already aware of the existing beliefs that exist in your industry or in your market before you create the presentation, before you present anything, right? You're already aware of this stuff. And you strategically place this information into either, a 2 to 3 minute video clip, or maybe you're doing a VSL. This is where I'm getting into the 3. A VSL is like an 8 to 10 minute video that you pre-record and you leverage that before, let's say, getting on a sales call. Or when somebody says, what is it exactly that you do? You would essentially send them this video. And at the very end, the call to action would be book a call if you're selling something more high ticket. Now, if you're selling digital products, then you can direct people to a link somewhere to get access to your products. The other vehicle is a webinar. So if you have an online business and you haven't done a webinar yet, what are you doing? Right? If you haven't tried a webinar just to see how it works, to see how people are attracted to your offer, then you're missing out on something pretty big. And a webinar can happen not just with your audience, but with someone else's audience. I remember the first time I did a webinar, I sucked. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I sucked. It was really, 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 really like painfully bad. There was one person that showed up. I had no idea what I was doing because the presentation style forces you to think very differently, right? It's a very intentional presentation. You're not just there to inspire, but you are there to sell what it is that you do in a way that positions you as an authority. It positions you with the credibility that you need. And so I had one person show up. I was awful in this presentation, and the entire time she was literally in a bathtub, which is extremely distracting. She didn't have the camera on, thank God, but nonetheless, you heard the splish splash in the background, and it was just a really awkward experience. And I just asked her very kindly, do you mind if I just go ahead and finish this thing? Do you mind if I just kind of work through it? I want to get some reps in. I want to make sure I do a really good job for the future. And she was all gung-ho about it. She bought nothing from me because technically I didn't even know how to sell what it was that I was doing in a virtual setting like this. Now, fast forward a few months later, after I practiced, I basically skipped Christmas with family in order to get these reps in. I hosted my first webinar. Now, this was to my audience, not somebody else's. And I closed 2 high ticket deals. So essentially my high ticket program is $5K for each person. And that's $5K for 6 months. But because they attended the webinar, I took $1,000 off for anyone who signed up the next day by noon. I had 2 people sign up. I closed 2 high ticket deals from this webinar. So I made $9,000 from this, even though one of them got the discount, she missed the deadline. The other presentation option is your signature talk. Now, this is the name of my company. This is ultimately the goal that I try to bring my clients to. And this is where you're getting on a live in-person stage and doing this presentation. You are talking about your product services. You're bringing back that origin story or any stories related to your offer in order to help people shift their thinking, move in your direction, potentially buy into your products and services. And there's nothing wrong with doing this. I remember when I first started learning sales, I spent a lot of money to learn high ticket sales. I remember that my belief system around sales were awful, devastating, the worst. I thought anybody who gets into sales is icky and gross, just like the car salesman, right? That's kind of how we get programmed. But the truth is, this is how you run a successful business. And without this skill called sales, you're going to have a really hard time, both in personal relationships, professional relationships, and just business dealings in general. This is why most businesses fail in the first 1 to 3 years, in fact, is because they don't know how to sell. They don't know how to sell or fulfill the offer. It's usually one or the other. So if you can develop these skills or find a mentor and a coach that can help you, you're in great shape. Back to the topic at hand. A big social media following does not always mean you're making sales in your business. If you run an online business today, you're going to need either the skills, the training, or the presentations, more specifically, that are going to convert a cold, warm, or hot prospect into a paid, qualified client. And that takes skill and that takes strategy. And one of the best ways to do it is through one of the vehicles that I presented to you. Now, if you're online only, because there was a lot of people that want to work remote, then obviously the VSL is a great practice tool for you. It's a tool that you can plug into one of your online funnels, or you can just share it as needed if you're having conversations in the DMs. You can run a live webinar. You can get on somebody else's webinar. These are your virtual options. Or if you're called to speak in person, you're going to need to create your signature talk. Now, if you need help with this, you can find me at the link below. I have a direct link. You can book a sales call with me right away. I can teach you the strategies that I deploy all the time. This is to bring in high ticket clients. This is to teach them not only how to do this for themselves, but then to grow their business with it, right? Because ultimately, you want to scale your business with this skill called public speaking. Sales and public speaking go hand in hand. Sales and communication in general go hand in hand, as more specifically. But if you want to take it to the next level and you want to learn how to sell from stage or sell on a platform, then you're going to have to reach out below. Hope this helps. See you soon.